The Gulf of Alaska is a wide ledger, cold ink, hard lines. On an October night in 1980, the cruise ship SS Prinsendam wrote its entry with fire. South of Yakutat, a watchman smelled what no sailor mistakes: smoke, not from any galley. He traced it aft, felt heat in the bulkhead, and called it plain. Engine room. Fire. At first the ship did what it was built to do: alarms, watertight doors, teams with masks and foam lines pushing down a corridor that glowed. Passengers woke to a hotel becoming a machine, then a plan. The captain made the call most captains postpone. Mayday, repeated. Position given. Fire not under control. The Prinsendam carried anniversaries and first big trips saved for on kitchen calendars. Now, people pulled life jackets over silk and wool, stepped onto cold decks, and watched the crew draw order from chaos. Lights flickered. The ship began to drift. Below, the fire crawled through cable runs like a thief who knew every lock. Far away, radios woke other machines. A U.S. Coast Guard air station scrambled C-130s and helicopters. Cutters altered course. Ships with no obligation except the old law of the sea turned their bows toward the smoke. A tanker, a freighter, a container ship. In Canada, phones rang at bases. Satellites bent their ears toward a name they learned before dawn. The captain played for time, swinging the ship to keep wind off the fire, then conceding wind is a tutor that takes no arguments. Passengers went to stations. Crewmen swung out lifeboats and stared into a chop that turned black water to broken glass. It is a hard calculus. Flame behind, cold beneath, distance in every direction. The first helo, rotor slap, searchlight, voices on a frequency that sounded like courage, arrived as lifeboats began to lower. One boat went crooked and had to be reset. Another dropped the last feet with a thud that ran through bone. A child cried once, then looked at her mother and chose silence. A crewman checked the painter line with bandaged hands. Lifeboat 3 in the water. 4 away. Flare smoke wrote brief punctuation. The helicopter pilot measured fuel in minutes and hoist cable in lives. For ships coming over the curve, the scene narrowed into their own beams. A smoking hull, small orange boats, and, over it all, the grammar of radio calls. One cutter took the role of traffic cop. You, hold station. You, receive survivors. You, shadow boats that cannot reach our ladder without a shepherd. Drills had to grow up. The lines held. Passengers learned to lie low in a lifeboat's belly, to pass a child hand to hand, to say thank you while their teeth chattered. Crews relearned that fire behaves like a living thing with appetites and tricks. A helicopter crew chief punched a man to make him let go of the rail and trust the basket, then apologized. The man laughed, then cried where the wind could dry it. Weather rose, wind and seas stacking into faces. A freighter made a lee with the blunt insistence of tonnage. The tanker lit her deck so bright the scene looked like a floating city. 2 helicopters played relay, one to hoist, one to ferry. A C-130 orbited with flares and a steady voice. "We see you. Hold what you've got." The captain stayed. He walked decks with a list. Who is off, who is missing, which spaces are gone to heat, and which merely to smoke. Welds clicked like insects. The fire was in the wrong places now, high, taking wire and breath from rooms that had been music. A lifeboat wandered too far. The sea tried twice to erase it. A cutter found it by the sound of fear. Lines were thrown, a ladder bit the gunwale, and 20 who had been certain they would die were handed blankets on steel. Another boat came sideways and broke its rudder. A bosun leaned out with a boathook, caught the painter at the last second, and swore at the ocean. A teenager, blue-lipped but grinning, asked to keep the hook. "Keep breathing," the bosun said. "That's the souvenir." By dawn, the arithmetic began to match hope. Air assets rotated, Crews wolfed coffee and candy and went back up because the list was not yet clear. The ocean showed its other face, gray, impersonal. The Prinsendam, scorched and stubborn, still floated. The captain looked into the engine room and saw the kind of glow that says the fight has moved beyond hoses. He gave the order he would remember all his life. Abandon ship. Rescue is a chorus with a melody of luck. Pilots, swimmers, deck crews, doctors turning storerooms into clinics, radios refusing to let panic conjugate a single verb. It is also math, fuel, distance, weight, hypothermia curves, lift cycles, transfer windows between a wave's top and what it wants to break. The miracle was not a single act, but the absence of a missing one. Nobody forgot a step. Nobody ran a ladder to the wrong side. Nobody flew past a flare while telling a story about himself. The system held because people held it. The last to leave took nothing but what they could not set down: the feel of water hammering steel, the smell of hot paint, the sound of a PA trying to be brave. They stepped into boats and baskets and became cargo. Behind them, the ship that had carried birthdays and quiet reconciliations went on burning in a place that does not care who loved whom on Deck 9. Weather closed the curtain. The ocean kept what was left. The Prinsendam sank, no orchestra, just a coordinate and a depth, and, on several desks, a notation: resolved by submergence. What remained were people distributed by math across cutters and tankers and freighters, drinking sweet coffee from mugs too big for the moment, wrapped in blankets that smelled like every ship that ever kept the law of the sea. The Count, cruel as ever, came back without a body. On a night built for disaster, they brought everyone off. Newspapers used miracle. The people who flew and hoisted and took lines across their palms used other words: checklist, training, teamwork, luck. The captain said the sea gave them time, and they did not waste it. Months later, committees wrote after-action reports with verbs so careful you could eat off them. They praised the early call and the way agencies traded frequencies like tools. They noted the volunteer ships. They sketched a night when a cruise ship became a city of small boats, then a census, then a relief that felt like justice. Ask a survivor and you get weather, color, hands, flare, smoke torn sideways, searchlights making walls out of rain, hands gloved and bare, shaking, steady. Ask a pilot and you get numbers, then silence. Ask a swimmer and you get water's exact bite and the name of the passenger who said she could not climb but did, one rung at a time, while someone at the top told her a joke about breakfast. Every sea story ends with an audit. What failed? What worked? Here the answer is narrow. The ship failed. The systems around ships did not. Coastlines leaned toward the middle. Neighbors shared airfields, fuel, and faith. Merchantmen made harbors with their shadows. The ledger closed on a sum nobody expected, lives intact, balanced against a loss the ocean had already priced in. Stand on a pier in Yakutat and look south. Somewhere beyond that line, a ship burned to its arguments, and hundreds became a flotilla of decisions. You cannot see the spot from shore, only imagine it when evening wind comes off the water, a captain saying the words in time, an operator saying copy, a pilot throttling up, a tanker crew turning on lights meant for cargo and finding they were perfect for faces. Not every ledger ends this way. Too many stop midline. This one made it to the period. The signature is shared: passengers, crew, airmen, sailors, merchants, neighbors. The ocean took a ship. People took each other back. In that exchange, the oldest law repeats: if you can go, you go. If you can carry, you carry. Thank you for listening to the Sunken Ledger. Subscribe for more true stories from the depths.